gonna get really comfy for this because I am super jet lagged. Hello my loves, I'm Miss MonMon. Welcome to my channel. Today I am traveling. Where in the world am I? Who knows? Have you ever had to use Google Maps to find out what city you have woken up in? That's a sign you should just go home. I'm going to start off by saying I am so sorry about all the background noise that will be in this video, but I am dealing with this at 7 a.m. every day until 5:30, and the jet lag is killing me. But we move on, we persevere. I'm so tired. I recently took a girls trip to beautiful Singapore, and oh my gosh, what a trip it was. I think I spent the whole basically 2 weeks just eating constantly. Steamed bun, yes. Mango pudding, yes. Chicken and rice, oh yeah. As a absolute lover of tea, I always love checking out cafes when I travel. I actually just really enjoy cafe culture. Just give me a warm beverage, a super cute aesthetic, and I will just want to sit there for hours, as long as nobody else needs my table. I have always known and always recommended, even before I even went there, that there is an incredible high tea experience at the Raffles Hotel in Singapore. I have booked it for my parents. I have booked it on 2 separate couples' honeymoons, and recently recommended it to one of my closest pinup friends. But I have yet to experience it for myself until this trip. So of course, because I was going to be taking a super luxurious high tea in one of the most iconic hotels in the world, I had to make myself a new dress because it'll be rude not to. So today's sewing adventure is all about making a high tea dress that is good enough for the Raffles Hotel in Singapore. Let's go. Right, let's talk patterns. I really wanted a true vintage pattern. I decided to go with a pattern that had things that I've never tried before, and that is where I found this pattern. This is Simplicity 2109, and it came out, I think, in 1959, or was it 57? It was 57. And it features this gorgeous scalloped neckline, both in the front and the back, but it also has a midriff panel, and the midriff panel is adorned with layered ribbon. These are 2 things that I've never really tried sewing before, and I have the how hard can it be gene, so that is the pattern we are gonna go for. One issue I do have with this pattern is the size. It is a size 12 or a 32-inch bust, and your girl is a 38-inch bust. So I will also try grading up a size, and we'll see how that goes. So let's have a look at our fabric. Singapore is very hot. Singapore is very humid. And I am a sweaty beast. So no nylon, nothing that isn't a natural fiber. So we're going with cotton. I decided on a gorgeous blue cotton, which was light blue, and it was adorned with darker blue flowers. I am going to be also adding some gorgeous velvet ribbon to the midriff paneling. So I guess it's time to now pass it over to VoiceOver MonMon, and let's sew this dress.
Alrighty, it's VoiceOver MonMon. As always, we are going to start by cutting out our pattern, and I made sure to add about half an extra inch on all the seam allowances on the side. It wasn't enough in the end, but you know, you live and you learn. Once sewing started, we began with the shoulder straps, and then I created some gathering channels, which will be under the bust. I just sewed 2 wide length stitches and then pulled them together along the thread, and it creates little gathers. See? Super cute. So the next thing I did on the front pieces was attach the midriff. Everything I did with the front I repeated with the back, minus the gathered stitches, but I'm not going to show all the footage twice. Moving on to the facing, I began by sewing the sides together and then adding the darts into the back, because although it doesn't have gathers, it's got darts. The back facing started halfway down the piece as it's got the scalloping, but it all makes sense once it comes together. I'm not really a fan of how they told me to sew the dress. This is me adding the midriff piece onto the back, and normally I would start attaching the front and back at the shoulders and sides, but they wanted me to attach the facing to the front and then the facing to the back and then sandwich it together. So here I am sewing the facing on, and it was pretty easy, even with the scallops. But one thing I did for the front and the back was I actually got my water-soluble marker and created a tracing line that I sewed along, just to make sure that everything was as even and as smooth as possible. And I really took my time to make sure my scalloping was smooth and even, because this would definitely show at the front. Once that was done, I cut into the scallops and trimmed away the excess. I trimmed it using my pinking shears, so I didn't have to worry about overlocking or finishing the seams, and it'll just stop the fabric from fraying. If you are going to sew a pattern like this, I would sew the front and back piece together, and then the front and back facing piece together, and then attach everything like a normal pattern would. I really wasn't a fan of this method. Here I am poking out the scallops and making sure they all came out smoothly. I did have to go back and sew a smoother line on one of them, just because I wasn't happy with it, and being right at the front, I know I was going to notice it. I also wish I added a thicker interfacing because it just wasn't enough. The pattern said to hand sew the shoulder seams together. I used my machine, which wasn't the best method, but I was just a little bit too tired to do anything. Here I am showing in the side seams before moving on to my velvet ribbon. During this filming, I actually had a really bad case of the flu, so I normally would have sewn all these ribbons on, but because I was just feeling absolutely awful and wanted to get back into bed, I just glued it down. Also, please ignore my sewing hat. If you are new, I have a very big window above my sewing machine, and when that light comes through, it really comes through. With my bodice complete, it was now time to move on to the skirt. So I sewed 3 panels of fabric together, overlocked it and hemmed it before I got some dental floss and used my dental floss zigzag method to gather the top of my skirt. I did want to use the pattern pieces that the pattern provided for the skirt, but my fabric just was not wide enough. I used sewing clips to attach my bodice to my skirt, and then I sewed it down and overlocked it. I accidentally overlocked a little bit into the velvet ribbon, so I had to go and unpick that. To finish up my skirt, I added a zip and hemmed it, and then I went back to bed for the next couple of days before I left on my trip.
I love how this dress came out. However, there were a couple of minor issues. I didn't grade the pattern large enough, so she was still a little bit squashy, so I did get a little bit of pancake boobage, which is fine. About 4 photos in, my camera died. So I have very limited footage of this dress, but I am doing the best that I can. I did get my camera fixed a few days later, but you know, the moment had passed, guys. I still love this dress. I think it was beautiful. I think it was elegant. I love that I didn't feel overly hot in it, and I could spend most of the day walking around in it without feeling sweaty or uncomfortable. The high tea at the Raffles Hotel was delicious. There were so many amazing treats and beautiful sandwiches, and the tea itself was lovely. The service was fabulous. Is it ridiculously excessive to sew a dress just for one event for an entire holiday? Yes. Am I going to do it again? Yes. That is everything I have for you guys today. As always, in the description box below, you can find a link to my blog, which has more photos and close-up and more detail about the sewing process if this is the pattern you are looking at yourself, as well as links to anything that I can link. Thank you so much for joining me on this pretty exciting vintage sewing adventure. I can't wait for the next one. It'll be coming up very soon. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel or find me on any of my social medias. I love getting to know you guys. I'm not the best at responding to comments. I find it really overwhelming sometimes. Yeah, I can get really overwhelmed. I do have a few more videos coming out in this location, and that construction work is not going to let up anytime soon, and I can't film on the weekends when they're not working. So I'm sorry that there will be a mild scattering of this location in the next possibly month or so. I'm doing the best that I can, guys. I'm so sorry. I will see you guys all next week with a brand new video, but until then, be kind, be true, be you, and have a beautiful week. Bye! I wonder if there's somewhere nice to have high tea here. What city am I in? I miss my cat. Oh wait, I didn't bring a scrap of fabric with me to show you the fabric. Yes, that is a sound of my soul imploding at that thought.